what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Possibility Mindset Podcast. I'm Devin Henderson. I am your host, and I believe that something greater is always possible for you. All right, Jason, I looked over and I saw you doing something with your hand. I thought you were like checking your nails like you were bored, but you were just adjusting the microphone.
Yeah, no,
okay,
I was just adjusting them. Now I'm just...
I thought he was like yawning and checking his nails, like when is this thing going to be over? So, yeah, and like you said, we're down on our liquids today, so there might be a break. There might be a rough cut halfway through this one, people. We're just letting you... because
I have two coffees. I don't mean to brag.
I wanted to match you. I got taller cups just to be like, hey, man. More for me. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see who can. Maybe it'll be a contest.
I'm just
who
more of
can
a down to
hold it
earth
longer.
kind of guy.
You are down to earth. Do you want to tell us your coffee situation at all? What's going on here, or is
in
it
general?
too personal?
Oh well, I mean, I'm addicted to coffee.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
right.
ashamed to say that.
All right.
I quit for a few weeks a while back, and at the same time, I quit drinking. I would just drink like wine, and like.
You're good. Come on.
Two chemicals out.
No, you're fine. Come on through, man.
Yeah,
you get to make a cameo. What's your name? All right, this is our friend, Don. Hey, Don. You're fine, man. That's the great thing about this podcast, the live atmosphere. You just never know who's going to walk through. We are in a restaurant. Yeah. It could be actually more people walking behind us, but it's just like one random person going between Minsky's and et cetera, because same owner. Event space that splits it. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But we're talking about your coffee addiction.
Yeah.
Oh, and you quit drinking at the same time.
I quit drinking, which that one I held on to though. That one,
okay.
Yeah, because I didn't drink that much, but I was like, it's not doing me any favors. I like to work out. I like to do things.
Okay.
And, I balance for a living, and I was just like, I can just cut that out.
Okay.
And also, cut out the sugar and all the stuff that comes with it.
Wow. So how long have you been off drinking alcohol?
That's right at 10 months now.
Wow. That's awesome.
I think I'm just going to keep that one.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Has that made a difference just in terms of how you feel overall and how much you spend?
Definitely. Both. Yeah. And how much I spend affects how I feel. Look at that money I got.
Good point.
Yeah. So it's like my body just feels more at ease. It's like a homeostasis thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like alcohol makes you have a good time, and then it goes up and then it goes down the next day. Your cortisol levels spike a little bit.
Come on, man. Come on. No, it's good.
Oh,
you're
hey,
good,
how's
dude.
it going?
Go for it. What's your name?
Josh.
This is Josh,
hey,
everybody.
Josh.
All right. You're just going to see his midsection there, but good enough. That's enough of Josh. All right.
All right.
Yeah, so it's made, I would say you've always looked good. I dare say now you look great.
Thank you.
I think, yeah.
Thank you.
Could you just take off your jacket so we could see your form-fitting shirt? Yeah, no. So that's amazing.
It's not that kind of show.
My listeners will appreciate I'm 199 days off coffee. So they're sick of hearing.
Man.
I'm sure they're just like,
congratulations,
thank
man.
you very much.
Cheers.
Appreciate that. Yeah, so I passed the halfway point.
That's an accomplishment.
But I'm not as convicted necessarily about it as you are alcohol, because it's a journey for me. Like, it's not as immediate of a thing as it seems like the alcohol thing is for you,
Okay.
That it's like, whoa, this has really changed my life. It's kind of like I'm trying to get more energy, get more sleep. I promote mud water on this podcast, and so I'm just trying to see if I do less caffeine, will it just affect my overall health? But I think it's just going to take some time for me to really know.
Yeah, 200 days.
You would think that's a fair shot,
You would think that's
right?
enough.
But I'm still not sleeping great. I still don't have great energy throughout the day. So my theory is that it just takes your body some time to reset.
And how long were you drinking coffee?
I went straight from being a kid into early adulthood to coffee. So I was never off caffeine until like the last, 200 days or so. So that's why I'm like, well, let's just see. Let's give it a shot. I don't want to give up too early.
Yeah.
I can always go back to coffee.
When you're still getting a little like caffeine,
you
right?
are.
Just like a little bit.
Totally. It's like the amount of what's in coffee. So we'll see. But I'm glad we're talking about this. This is not like time wasted because, you are very into health. And your job requires a lot of physical activity. You're basically a professional juggler, balancer. So this is going to be nice. Once we do, we'll segue here in a second into the topic and everything. But you listeners, just get excited because we're going to be talking about, I assume wellness, balance of life and all that, or this could take a completely different direction. Otherwise, watch it on YouTube, look how in shape my friend Jason is, and just looking at him, you will be inspired to get outside more. I think that's the bottom line here.
Every time you say that, I feel like I have to correct my posture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's why I've been saying it, so that you will correct that
pillar of
disgusting posture. No, man, you look great. So, all right. Well, before we do completely jump in, just want to say thank you to Etc. Shawnee for sponsoring this episode once again. We love Etc. Jason was pounding eggs and toast over there because he probably did his Arnold Schwarzenegger workout this morning and was like, let's get that 12-egg omelet in us. So breakfast was good.
Oh, it was, yeah, the eggs were great. I just got simple scrambled eggs, and they were perfect.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That works. That's cool. So, watch us on YouTube, Devin Henderson Speaker. Also, if you feel like, hey, I want to leave a comment would be great on Apple Podcasts. That helps get us more traction. Leave a 5-star review, and share this link with a friend if you feel like, hey, this is good information, this is helpful, this will inspire someone in my life. Just pass it on. So there it is. And I gave her a shout out too late last time, so I'm going to say it right now. Ashley Stair, thank you very much for all the work you're doing as the podcast producer. She and Zach are teaming up to make this thing so easy for me, because things are not sustainable unless you have people helping you to move it along. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you get overwhelmed with, now I got to edit, now I got to post, now I got to write a description. And Ashley's doing all that, and Zach's doing the editing. So it's been amazing, and it's made the podcast more fun. I just get to show up and really just focus on you, the listeners, and I get to ignore Zach completely. Don't have to look at him. No, but we're going to get you on here one day, Zach. You just wait. So there it is. That's great. And the product placement we're going to do today is something that it's going to be Zero shoes. I walked in and Jason said, oh, you have Zero shoes. I've been thinking about getting some of those. So tell us more about that. What made you think that Zeros might be right for you?
Well, I have one of my best friends. He's also a juggler, and he's got them. And he just got a new pair, and I just was like, I just had envy immediately.
Yeah.
Coveting thy neighbor's shoes.
They do produce jealousy,
and,
I will say that.
They were good. No, they look great, and like the style is good, and I already like more flat shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
awesome.
I just like I don't like anything that brings my feet too high off the ground. I feel like you're kind of wobbling on these little foam stilts.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. I mean, I think you're more likely to roll your ankle, which that is a lot of the benefits. I mean, for barefoot shoes is that they are closer to the ground, less likely to roll your ankle, but also you get more flexibility. You work the right muscles. The shoes themselves are flexible, and then they have a wide toe box. So there's many benefits to make it feel like you're walking more barefoot. We are born barefoot, and so I believe we're meant to walk barefoot, and I think padded high sole shoes with pointy toes can really mess up your feet. From what I hear, people have foot surgery, and so this can really fix a lot of problems all the way up through your legs, your knees, and even your back. I mean, it can really help everything. It's a kind of a holistic thing. So check it out. Go to the link Zero Shoes. That's Zero with an X, Xero. ZeroShoes.com/go/Devin. All right, so ZeroShoes.com/go/Devin. Check it out. And hope you join us on the Zeros journey.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, we're going to jump in with you, my friend. Are you ready to talk more about yourself?
Oh, sure. I love talking about myself.
Okay.
And that is sarcasm.
No. And it's so funny because, Jason, can we talk about your pseudo last name? Just
yeah.
Well, because when Ashley said Jason Smith is coming on the podcast, I was like, I don't remember that. I don't remember who Jason Smith is. And she goes, it might be Devad. And I was like, oh, I know Jason Devad. So anyway.
Right. People get confused. I use Devad so much publicly, almost exclusively.
Yeah.
Not because I am leading a double life or anything.
Well.
But
that you're aware of, right? A lot of us have multiple personalities.
Yeah. No, but I know enough performers that use both names interchangeably.
Okay.
And it's just confusing.
Yeah.
And so for clarity, I use my stage name because people can Google it better. It's more unique. It actually shows up at the top of the results. And it's just more of a it's a cooler, more interesting name.
Yeah, and even with that, there are 2 spellings for Divad, right?
Oh,
There's the D apostrophe VAUDE and then DIVAD.
Okay, yeah, that's the old one.
Oh, that's the old one. Okay,
so the DI,
I need to update my phone then.
Let me just explain this sort of like, I don't know how entertaining this is, but my middle name is David, right?
Okay, all right.
So David spelled backwards is Divad. But the only things that actually change are the vowels. The D, the V, and the D.
Yes, yeah, I
right?
see that.
So, like I did a news show once, and they just called me David. And on emails, people would just switch it.
Even if it was like spelled D-I-V-A-D.
Yeah, like you see online, you'll see like a paragraph and it's all spelled wrong, but you can read it just fine.
Yes.
Because your brain corrects.
Totally.
People would correct in their minds and just go straight to David.
Dumb, smart brains.
I know.
Jeez,
and it wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault.
Yeah, I get it.
Yet I was bitter about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had to change my name, and somebody, a friend of mine, wisely recommended to just keep the pronunciation the same, but go with Divad, which is sort of the root word of vaudeville.
Right. That's why I always thought it came from.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So.
See, I thought it was backwards. I thought you went with the vaudeville more spelling, and then people couldn't get that right. So you just went, well, D-I-V-A-D is easier. So now I see it was like the opposite. Interesting.
For a while, I had business cards that said, Jason Divad, don't call me David. It literally just said that right there.
Nice.
Yeah. It was kind of funny, but it tried to make light of it, tried to make a joke, but at the end of the day, it was dysfunctional to have that name.
Sure, because people would be like, Jason David, and it was like flashbacks to your childhood of your mom yelling at you when you're in trouble. Yeah, well, speaking of vaudeville, let's do your intro, because it'll make more sense where it's like, oh, I see where the vaudeville thing came from. With me today is Jason, the Circus Man Divad. Or
That's
David,
right.
whichever one. All right. A one-man performance sensation, setting the world of variety entertainment on fire. For more than 20 years, he's dazzled audiences with precarious stunts that push the limits of human ability. True, I've seen it. And courageously juggles determination and laughs with a dash of danger. True, a lot of fire in there. Never unafraid to ask what else is possible. Look at that. He got the tagline in his intro. That's so great. Which, by the way, is the most daring question of all. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Divad. All right, here we are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You can applaud at home. I'll just imagine it.
Applaud for Divad.
Thank you.
Yeah, with a dash of danger. I like it reminds me of the Cruise when he's like, never not be afraid. You're never unafraid. It's a little different to ask what else is possible. So you have asked what else is possible in one variation or another through the course of your life and your career. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that it's I mean, on multiple levels. I mean, just to become, you know this, just to become an entertainer and make a living in itself is a bit of a scary thought.
Yes.
Like, can I do this? Is this is this possible? And that was my original goal. And I was like, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to do that. And it took years, of course, and there's no school for it, at least not when I started. There was no school there. I think there's a couple of circus schools that have popped up since I started. Yeah. I started back at U.S. Toy Company.
Yeah. Oh, did you
worked
really?
There. Yeah. I worked there when I was 16, 17, 18, and I know you've mentioned
that's right. I mean, that's where I grew up. That was the magic shop that I went to. So I didn't realize that jugglers were working in there too. I just thought it was magicians and costume people.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I used to do these when I was a kid. Okay, so I used to do crystal sticks, is what they're called, right? Or they're also called flower sticks, hippie sticks, devil sticks.
Wow, a lot of names. Which is the two sticks where you're hitting the middle stick back and forth.
Right, 2 control sticks and then a baton that you hit with those sticks. And so those were just super fun, and I got those at the Renaissance Festival when I was like, super, when I was a kid. And so I just liked moving stuff around. I also played with like pogo stick, riding wheelies on my bike, running around, climbing trees. A lot of solo activities. That was kind of the central theme. I was an only child, and I spent a lot of time alone. I had some friends, but I always wanted to be able to entertain myself. And so juggling was sort of a natural evolution from that. So I got I went to this, I applied for this job at the toy store, and I saw that they had a magic shop, which was fascinating enough. And then within that magic shop, they've got like a case for, or I should say they did. I don't know anymore, but they've moved.
They're not even there anymore.
Yeah, they've moved. A guy bought it, a magician friend of mine.
Really?
Travesty. He's a,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I got to go check out the new location. But
well, the new location was like Metcalf and
well, and then it moved again.
Oh, it moved again?
Yeah.
Okay, because I heard the magic shop went out of business. I didn't know what happened to the rest of like the teacher curriculum store. Store part of it.
I think this guy just bought the magic portion.
Oh, is that
like
right?
all the stock and
Really?
everything, and he kept it going. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So yeah, but at the time they had actual professional grade juggling clubs. They even had torches, juggling knives, you know, from Dubé Juggling Company, and unicycles. They had a lot of stuff.
Wow.
I mean, you probably didn't see it because you're a magician. You were coming in looking for, you know, cards or whatever the thing is.
Totally.
But I did also learn magic out there too. I know I could, the cups and balls and the silk, vanish, and all the little fun, you know, the cheap ones that you kind of start with. You know, I loved demoing those, and that's where I kind of got a joy for performing, was just performing for the customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That the cups and balls set where it was like a red one, a yellow one, and a blue one, and the balls were a little fuzzy.
Little squishy balls that would, you know, sort of compress, you know.
Yes, well, that's crazy that you and I have similar childhoods in the sense that, like, I always enjoyed solo activities as well. It was like piano, drums, and then, you know, soccer, juggling. Instead of like really wanting to be on a soccer team, it was like I just want to learn the solo sport of soccer freestyle. So it's interesting that, and then we're doing very similar things now, you know, like made a living off of it, and just because you can practice by yourself anytime you need to. You can get better, you know, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, I can't sleep, you know, because I've had too much coffee. Then you can just practice. So that's interesting that that's true about you. So great. So then, you know, from what else was possible from there? Then how did that develop into the next phase?
Well, sometimes it helps to have, you know, some kind of model or example, and so, you know, staying with the toy store there, I saw guys come in, much like yourself, who were on their way to a gig. I mean, I remember distinctly, like, a guy with floppy shoes and clown makeup, you know, would come in, and he's not
half his face. He's not in character. Painted. He's look, what do you think I need?
He's not in character. He's in a hurry. Right. He's on his way to work. Right.
Yes.
And he's just like, hey, I need balloons and some the silk and the thing. Streamers and you know, I need all this stuff. And I thought, man, he's going to work right now. That is so cool. And you know, of course, there were magicians and all kinds of different entertainers that would come through. Yeah. And I thought, well, you know, that's a thing. I mean, if you can't take that for granted to even realize that that's a thing in the first place. That's right. And you know, and then I would go to the Renaissance Festival, like as an adult, like at that time, and just see like Brian the Incredible Juggler, and Rod Sipe and John Mallory. These are the guys that have been at the Kansas City Renaissance Festival for 30 plus years. Right?
Is Bob the Juggler and Rod Sipe, are they still doing it?
I believe they're both still there.
Wow.
I know. And so they were big influences on me. I just thought they were so great, and still do. By the way, they are. They're just like legends out there.
For sure.
So just seeing them, and also like they would sometimes encourage me, and then I had a friend who also played with the Crystal Sticks, who also got a job there at the same time. He became my juggling partner, and we did a duo act for a while. We worked at the Renaissance Festival later. We actually got the job there performing, and you know, you just start. And our attitude going in was, who cares? Like, let's go make a fool of ourselves. And that's something that I feel like I want to hold on to now, or like remember now in my like just being willing to go out and just, you know, not intentionally make a fool of yourself, right? But be willing to let yourself be the fool. Yes. And I mean, it's easier if you're a juggler, since that's kind of your a suitable character to get into.
And then if you're going to like drop something, it's more like, hey, this is fun. I can play off that. And
you know, but like you're a speaker and you know, so like if you're a speaker, you go up and if you fumble your words, you know it's not a big deal. You just kind of keep going, right? Or you make a remark, you make fun of yourself for a moment, whatever it is, you just keep going. If it's not if it's not devastating to you, then it's not devastating to the audience. But then you see a speaker sometimes who isn't maybe seasoned, and they go up and they're just like nervous, and they make a mistake, and you can see them wince at themselves, and their attitude going up isn't, you know, it's not helping them, right? So this attitude, this same attitude, is been a big thing for me.
And I want to pause. I want to pause on that for a second because I think a lot of listeners, so people are afraid to start things. Recently in a speech, I said the word fart. Here's how it came up. I meant to say something along the lines of start to focus. I told my kids this story. They thought it was hilarious. And I was like, start to focus, but it just came out, if you fart. And then I was like, I'll just skip over it. But then it was like, you could tell there was no skipping over it because everyone just like started like, you know, like this thing. And I go, okay. And then they started laughing because I was like giving them permission to laugh. And I said, sometimes you have to do that too. That helps. And it turned out it was like, it was like, you know, like these are professionals. These are like management for like a well-known insurance company. And so it was kind of like this business suits, middle of the afternoon. And since it was the middle of the afternoon, it was almost like a welcome, like, oh, this was like, you know, added to the humor and everything. I thought I should try to work that into every keynote. But then I thought, I don't know.
Especially if you do a keynote for like Beano or something. You know, have that in your back pocket.
Yes, I love it. But, you know, the thing you're talking about, like being a fool, I call it starting ugly. And I use the soccer analogy for it, oddly enough, that it's like start ugly. It doesn't mean be sloppy, careless, like you're saying. You're not intentionally out to make a fool, but being okay with dropping the ball, with things not going perfectly, because I think that's why so many times people, they don't write their book, they don't start their business, they don't, you know, go on a trip or whatever they want to do because they're just like, what if it's not perfect? And if you're waiting for perfection, that'll hold you back, you know.
I'm guilty of it.
So no, I am too. Recovering perfectionist in many ways.
So like even right now, I would, you know, partially via your influence, I would like to start doing some more motivational, add some inspiration to the show. And that is a whole other thing that I'm having. Like right now, I'm sort of front loading. I'm trying to like learn about it and read books about it and watch other speakers, and but I haven't started yet. Right. So, and I think that's okay. But at some point, you know, you got to pull the trigger and just jump up there.
We've been talking about it for a while. We got a coffee. It was like 4 or 5 years ago now, and we've just crossed paths since then. And I know I've asked you about it because you've kind of showed, you know, some like oh, there's some interest in it. And I think did I introduce you to Danielle, my coach? Did you guys ever talk?
And we did a little lightning session.
Oh, lightning,
sort of a quick
gotcha.
Thing,
So she's the one when people are like, how do I learn to speak? I'm like, just go to Danielle. But so that was one thing I was going to ask you about today too. Is
she was great.
Where with that?
I think I'm going to probably go back to her soon because at the time I was so at the infantile stages. I didn't even know where to start or you know. You could argue that I hadn't even started yet. Like I had some ideas written down, but I didn't have any perspective as to what could be said or what message I could have. And because at the end of the day, I've probably got 100 things I could talk about, but it's about narrowing it down into the good stuff. And, the stuff that actually is relevant to others and true to myself, and what's not just repeated, sort of parroted from some self-help book or something like that. It has to be authentic. So I've been sort of. That's been my thought process, trying to get through all of that. And so she was very helpful in giving me some perspective at the time. Of just kind of like, okay, how do I steer this into something like understanding how to get it down into a simpler package, sort of like straightforward message. Yeah.
And and one thing I've heard too is good for, and this might be for anybody out there who wants to start speaking more, especially if you're an entertainer and you're trying to cross over, is just like if you do a show, whether you're doing a corporate show or a show at a festival or anything in between, just adding just like a minute or two of a story at the end that has some kind of point to get you used to talking more, and then just slowly start to build on that. You know, that's the way comedians work. You know, you don't come out and have an hour. It's like you have a solid 5 minutes and you just rock that 5 minutes, and then you just keep expanding that time until you go from, you know, host to feature to headliner. And so, that's, but you know, it's so interesting with all this, because I think about there's so many things that can hold us back, because while I talk about starting ugly and you talk about make a fool of yourself, and maybe that's your message, that like both of us are also recovering perfectionists, and that like we want to be perfect to a degree. So it's this weird balancing act, speaking of juggling. So there's other things that could hold you back. I am curious, because I noticed that you had significant social anxiety as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And so that you know, I know we're kind of rewinding a little bit, but can you tell me how has that played into this? How'd you overcome that? Is that still a part of your struggle today?
Oh, yeah. I would say it is still part of the struggle. But, you know, it's one thing to have it and another thing to be aware of it and sort of almost embrace it and just like let it, because nowadays I can sort of channel it into a charming awkwardness, you know, because it is that. So, but you know, if you're not self-aware of it, that's when it's bad. And of course, as a kid, it's just anxiety, right? And so it was for a long time. And so like I was alone, you know, in the cafeteria. I often had like one or two friends. I wasn't the most social person. I was pretty locked up socially, and I don't know where that came from, but you know, it's just I was very shy kid. And so that was the source of a lot of like I actually dropped out of high school in large part of that, because it was just such a difficult thing, you know.
Really?
I got my GED, did some college as well to sort of make up for it, but and also my school wasn't the absolute best school either.
Okay. You don't want to name any names.
I shouldn't. But it was really tough for a long time, and that's part of the reason performing made sense, because I was basically so like introverted, and I was sort of hiding a large part of myself, and the performing was a way to express myself in a safe way. And I think people understand that, like that a lot of performers, actors, any public figures are often pretty introverted, actually.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's true for me, and I've heard that. It's pretty across the board.
Yeah,
pretty common.
It's like, what is up with that?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm a prime example of that. And the performing, I say, I kind of visualize myself as like, I don't know, a snail or something with a shell, and the shell is kind of slowly like the enamel, like is just sort of slowly being like taken away over the years through performing. And I'm realizing it's kind of going from like seeking attention is what it started as, and now it's sort of seeking connection, which is a bit of a big shift there. And what it's always been seeking connection, but now I've just kind of realized that that's what it truly has always been.
Interesting.
And so that's actually beautiful, because now I can connect to my audience more, because I understand that that's always been the goal. So just through maturity, you know, you realize that that's what it's really about. And it's been, in a weird way, like my therapy. My performing career has been like therapy for me to get through. And so now it's like, I'm in a pretty good place. And in regards to the social anxiety, I just kind of say like, I'm a performer now, so there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I get up and I talk to people and I say things and I make mistakes and I do tricks and I inspire people, and all the kids want to give me a high five, and even the adults. And it's been, I don't know where I would be if I didn't start performing, you know. I could have been that guy in the office who just kind of keeps to himself, and I don't know, I'm thinking of that guy from Office Space who mutters about his stapler.
Oh, yeah. What's his name, Zach? The guy, Office Space who has the stapler and he gets put down in the boiler room?
Oh,
no,
what's
that's
his
like
name?
before Zach. Have you heard of the movie Office Space?
It is before. It is. Yeah.
I forget we have like a baby back there behind the gas. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
How old are you, Zach? 17. Yeah. No way.
You know Office, just not Office Space.
The
Totally
Office.
It's worth checking out, Zach.
Versus Office Space.
Yeah, okay,
It is.
Yeah,
it mostly still
guy.
holds up. Mostly.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah,
It's a great
my
movie.
dad even liked that movie, and he did not like the kind of movies we liked. It was like the exception.
Oh, it's so relatable.
Yeah, but that's so. I mean, dude, those were some. I was soaking in your deep metaphors and your deep thoughts. I love the enamel thing and the connection, rather than seeking attention. I can relate to that big time. I still fight it. Even as a keynote speaker, someone who's supposed to be connecting. Sometimes that attention factor sneaks in. I'm like, this is about me. This is about. Come on, clap some more, laugh some more. And I thought that I was making sort of that seeking attention to seeking connection transition because I became a speaker. Because it's like, well, now I'm trying to deliver value, so now it's about connection. But interesting that though you haven't really made a leap to speaking, you've still accomplished that transition and matured in that way and realized that as a performer simply. So I've never heard a straight entertainer, sorry, point that out exactly. So when do you think that, how did that happen over time, that it became less about you and more about them and the connection?
I would say it's happened mostly in the last couple years, 2 or 3 years maybe. I mean, it's happened the whole time because there's always a little connection. I mean, if you don't have a little, then you don't have anything.
Sure.
I've just been prioritizing it more recently. And I would say, so it's been gradual.
Okay.
And, but it's only kind of recently been in a conscious effort to prioritize.
Like the awareness factor, like you were talking about,
Yeah.
like with the anxiety, it's almost like just awareness about a different element.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
I even have a line in my show I use sometimes that it's, I'll sometimes say that, hey, I'm an introvert, and I'm a little awkward sometimes, blah blah blah, and I'll say, hey, we got any introverts out there? Make some noise.
I like it.
And
I
then
have a
there's
similar line, but I like that. That's
It's usually
good.
pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Well, I think about the parallel between what you're talking about and people who might be listening to the podcast, real estate people, insurance people, financial advisors, teachers, or whatever it is, because while they may not be seeking attention, maybe they're seeking more like the money, the paycheck, where it's like, okay, so if like you're a success, status or money, but it's like, how can I think at some point in your career, it's important to mature and make that shift to, this isn't about my status, my money, this is about, am I truly serving the customer? Am I helping someone protect, find their dream, protect their dream, build their dream? Or is it just about the short-term transactional type of interaction where it's like, got my paycheck, goodbye, thanks. So just in that way, with their quote-unquote audience, it's important that they build those deep, meaningful relationships and connections. Otherwise, the business is empty. And then you're just kind of like the guy starting out juggling who's just seeking attention, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's funny how there really is a crossover into any industry about people are the important thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it adds meaning. You can argue about where like the meaning of life comes from, the biggest question ever, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's subjective, not any less meaningful, but we create meaning. We're as humans, and so if we can connect each other, I mean, that's where it is. That's where the sauce is. Yeah, I think. Otherwise you're just kind of like a robot. You're just getting up there, doing your job, and walking away. And there can be a certain gratification there, but I think it hits a wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that that's what might separate some of the good from the great there. And I'm in my mind for some reason I'm thinking of a plumber, or an electrician. That comes to your house, like. We've all had service people that come to our house or whatever, and sometimes they're just, they show up, they do their job, they're a bit dry, right? They're a dry sandwich, right? No sauce, right? And then maybe you get a guy who comes in, or a lady, whatever, and she's just amazing, talkative, connecting, asking you about your day.
Yeah.
And right there you have black and white, two different experiences.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, the job itself is just like, I don't know, it's sort of secondary. It feels secondary there, even though that's the primary function of that person's job.
Yeah, and really softens it if things don't go perfectly. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, at least they were really nice. So if I have to call in and call them back, hey, but your person was like super awesome, you know.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, they say in you know, a good line or a good example here is like, they say, you know, you've heard this in magic. It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that means. But that's one of those sayings. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. That at the beginning I heard, and I was like, in my infinite teenage wisdom, I was like, got it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right. But then I realized over the years that I didn't know really.
Okay.
So there was a depth there that you can return to that saying and be like, am I really doing that?
Huh.
Am I really just showing off? Or, you know, I can return to that saying and be like, okay, it's like, it's sort of a check for myself, you know.
It takes years of wisdom and experience to truly like absorb deeper meaning of things, right? And in the next phase of your life, you might revisit that phrase again and be like, I thought I had it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not what you do, but how you do it. You'll be like, I thought I had it when I was however old you are now, you know, 22.
Yeah.
You look 20. You look 19. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how old you are, but I'm not going to ask you, but you look super young. But
I'm 37.
Okay. All right. He looks great. But, you know, maybe when you turn 60, you'll be like, there will be a whole new level of that. You know what I mean? That's what's great, to keep learning, keep growing, because I know little songs I learned as a kid in church have so much deeper and richer meaning. Back then they were just fun. They had the emotions, and now it's like you go through something in life, you're like, oh, there was some serious wisdom in that.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's why it's good to keep exploring. But
it's bizarre that you can agree with it at the time.
Yeah.
I see the wisdom there,
right.
But then it's a matter of depth.
Yeah, it does. It applies on a certain level there, but you're right, it gets deeper and deeper. So it's so funny. I think it's just meant to be. We've had a lot of guests lately who have talked about connection and significance and relational wealth and everything. And so my question for you, like, one thing I thought of was, there's people who deal with anxiety or have kids that deal with anxiety. What helped you the most as a kid, as you grew up, you know, when people spoke into you, or things you did yourself to help take you up out of that, whether in the moment or even as a longer fix?
Yeah. You know? Well, there is the other side of the juggling and everything, that it itself was a calming sort of something I could focus on. I'm sure you experienced some of this, like flow or kind of being in the zone. This is like basically the antithesis to anxiety. I mean, they literally say that action is the antithesis to anxiety, right? So it could be, whether it's juggling or not, having something to focus on, like just starting something, right?
I think right now our listeners are going, he's not a motivational speaker already, because he sounds like one.
Yeah,
you got a lot of these good.
This is why I'm wanting to become one, because I've had this stuff sort of.
Action is an antithesis. Am I saying that right?
Perfect.
It's the
antithesis.
Antithesis to anxiety. Man, that is like they always say, you know, idle hands are the devil's workshop. I think like an idle body, idle hands are like anxiety's workshop too, where it's like, get busy, do something, get involved. So if you have a kid with anxiety, get them a hobby, right?
Yeah.
Like, help point them to like something that they can like busy themselves with in a healthy way.
Yeah, right? and this is the big thing, I think, with, you know, if you have a kid and you're trying to help them by getting them a hobby, make sure that they can enjoy it, and make sure that they feel to some extent that it's their choice a little bit. You know, you know, my dad actually was pretty good about this. You know, I took gymnastics, I took karate, I did BMX racing, and whenever I was ready to quit any of those, he said, "Are you sure, or do you want to think about it for a week?"
Oh, man, that's so great that he wasn't like, no, you can't. You know?
Yeah, he did. Wow. And he was, and if I really wanted to quit, he would say, all right, cool, that's all right.
Wow.
And that was really important, actually, not to have the pressure to succeed in those things.
Because, but the opportunity to continue if you wanted to. Yeah, just a gentle nudge for what else is possible.
Because there's always the next activity. You don't have to love everything you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so finding that thing that you can get lost in, that means something to you, like that's going to be more important than what the thing is. Again, it's not what you do.
Right.
It's how you do it.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
Bringing that back around.
I love it. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, I think about that with, I'm going to throw my headphones off here and catch them to impress you so that maybe you'll bring me on your juggling act for a little bit. Did you think that was neat?
I did.
I bet you can't even do that.
I only caught the tail end, but I'll watch this later. Probably watch that a few times, actually, that part. You guys should just
Zach's going to loop it like in slow motion and But I think about with my kids when they're trying something new and they're like, I don't like this activity, I want to quit. I know, and parents might disagree on this, but I'm not the parent who's like, no, we paid money, it's an 8-week course, you will finish it regardless of how much you hate it. It's like, I don't think that's the way to go. I think it's like they gave it a shot, they tried it, they are hating this thing. Let's move on to the next thing. Why? You know what I mean? So that's more my philosophy, because I don't think kids are out there just to spend your money and they really wanted to try this thing and they found out this isn't. And there's a gentle nudge of, hey, you want to
sure.
Like if they're an orchestra, you want to get some private lessons to maybe help you with the bigger thing and providing more opportunity, but never pushing it to where it's like you absolutely must have to do this or else.
A little bit of that Socratic method too, and ask them questions like, what is it about it that's making you like? Even you might find out it's just another kid in that class, or it could it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be the thing itself.
That's a good point. Really good point.
Like BMX racing, I did for a while, and I did it with my best friend, he was like my neighbor. We grew up next to each other, and he wasn't that great at it, right? And I was doing pretty well, and I did it in large part because he did it, and we did it together, right?
Yeah.
It was an activity that we did together, and he wanted to quit one day. And I was like, man, you know what? It wouldn't be so fun without him. Yeah. And I just decided to quit too.
Yeah.
Because that was a part of the reason. And whether that's right or wrong, you can argue. But that was, it doesn't have to be the thing itself, right?
Sure.
So, So ask questions.
Yeah.
What is it about the thing?
Yeah. So what about adults now who maybe deal with anxiety? They've found their passion, that like you have, they love their thing, but maybe anxiety still sneaks in. So hobby isn't the answer because that, now anxiety's kind of gone a deeper level now, right?
Yeah. And
so then are there practices you've learned over the years that help you going into like maybe a high pressure situation?
Yeah. So I think a large part of it is accepting the anxiety, because that is the only thing that really can stop it. And otherwise you end up having anxiety about anxiety, right? And that's kind of what it is in the first place. It's like a loop. It's a loop, a thought loop. So yeah, if I say, oh no, I have anxiety. Oh no.
That's same way with sleep.
I don't know how to get it.
I'm losing sleep over the fact that I can't sleep.
That's anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And so two things would be understanding that basic fact that focusing on the anxiety just compounds it.
Sure.
And so accept it. Say, okay, I'm a person with anxiety. That's actually a technique to welcome it.
Okay.
Say, just take a moment. Say, please, all the anxiety, come. And like let it, you can even visualize it coming through your body.
Yeah.
Like, all right, it's filling me up. All right, cool. And that kind of gives you a sense of control.
Yeah,
you can kind of let it go or channel it. I mean, before a show, nervousness and excitement are just right next to each other.
Yeah.
They're a millimeter apart. They're the same part of the brain lights up.
Okay.
It's the same emotion. It's just framed differently. So understanding that it's a lot about framing. It's not about getting rid of it. It's about like feeling it and like you maybe directing it. And then the other thing is just to choose to focus on something different.
Okay.
Which the best thing is to focus on your body. What do you feel? What are your sensations? A little bit of mindfulness. Focus on somebody else. Ask how they're doing. Just focus on something else. And just use that as you know, your breath, focus on your breath, and use that as like a sort of an anchor of awareness, so you can just like realize that everything is actually, like, if you are present and you are aware that, like, even right now I could be nervous because I'm on a podcast, but it's just, okay, there's some chairs, all right, you know.
Yeah. Take all the chairs out of the room. Let's see what happens.
Oh, I gotta know. I need my chairs. I was focusing on the chairs.
Wow,
so, but those help me a lot.
Okay, or focusing on, some people even have a mantra they come back to, right?
Sure.
Like, and same kind of thing. Wow, that's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because no doubt there's people going, that's helpful, just to accept that, because I think a lot of times we hear like, don't let your mind say that you are this or you will become that, but it's like you already are that. So just embrace it, accept it, and move on.
It's the definition of a stigma. You're stigmatizing it. Yeah. Which, what is a stigma but anxiety, a form of anxiety or fear, or, you know, so yeah.
Interesting. So, okay, I know we got to wrap here in a minute, but you can do 10 handstand push-ups.
Yes.
Is that, okay, crazy question, is that without a wall? Or is that with, wow. So 10 freestanding. I'm working on it. I can do a handstand. I'm not as proficient as handstands as you. If I get it and hold it for like, 20, 30 seconds, I'm like, I'm rocking it. This is awesome. And
that's great.
I can go down. As I start to go up, I lose balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
the balance
that to me is I can do them against the wall. So I think right now it's just a matter of getting that going back up part, and I think I'm starting to freak out that I'm going to flip over, so I kind of just automatically start to come back this way. So any tips on that exact
negatives?
Okay.
Do you know this word, or
the
eccentric part of the exercise? So with push-ups, you've got the up and the down.
Yep.
The down is the negative or eccentric. The upward is the concentric.
Okay.
The upward is the harder part.
Yeah.
But if you go down slowly as you can, and let yourself fall, it's okay. Like, you just go as slow as you can, as low as you can.
Yeah.
And that you fall out of that, and then you get back up into the handstand and do it again. Go down.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's going to build your muscles in each phase of the movement.
Okay. I do that with pull-ups with my kids.
That's actually very taxing on the nervous system in a good way. It works you. It's a good workout, and your body, it figures it out.
Yeah, my kids can't do a straight pull-up yet, but I have them do negatives. I'm like, get up there and then just do the negative, and one day you'll get it.
It will.
That's awesome, man.
They absolutely will.
So, man, I hate this because this is so good. I feel like everything you're saying is so rich, and I'm getting to know you on a whole deeper level. But before we start to wrap, what else is possible at this point for you as you look ahead? I know we've talked about speaking, but what else is possible?
Yeah, speaking is my big thing. Like you said, adding a couple minutes in the show right now, that's kind of, I'm lucky enough to have a platform already that I can, a career built around performing, that I can just enter in a few things. So that is kind of my goal right now. And I don't know, I tend to focus on one thing. So, that's how I got where I am now. I just focused on the one thing and try to be as good as I can at it. And that's what I plan on doing with this next thing. I feel like I'm between mountain peaks right now.
Okay.
I reached the first one.
Yes.
Performer for a living. Awesome. And now I'm like, okay, what's next? And that's, for me, just, again, it's about connection and adding meaning to what I do. And so far, even just by being more authentic in my show, people tend to receive that much better, and it feels more meaningful for the audience. So I'm just continuing on that same path, basically.
Yeah.
And trying to find the seamless transition, as seamless as possible, into the motivational half of it.
Okay.
So,
awesome, man. That sounds great. And by the way, I didn't really pump you up enough at the beginning of this, but you are just an incredible juggler. You could do a handstand on one of those, the board that's on the one wheel. What's that thing called?
Man. Yeah, that's called a rollabola.
He could do a handstand on a rollabola.
It's a balance board. It's a cylinder with a board on top of it.
There you go.
It's like a seesaw. It's like a seesaw, but the center moves.
Yes.
And so you're standing on that, and
a handstand. Most people won't even dare to stand on it, let alone do a handstand on it. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah, thanks,
and then
man.
you're just.
And then now I'm able to do that in the show. Finally, it took a while to get comfortable enough. I'm up on a platform doing it, and now I clap my feet together while I'm doing it.
Yes, it's amazing, dude.
next level.
You just keep adding so many awesome things, man. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really incredible. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I want to try to have your episode come out so that if they're in the Kansas City area, they can come watch you at what festival are you going to be at?
I don't know if this is going to come out in time. I'm at the Lawrence Busker Festival coming up. That's this weekend. That's actually starting tonight.
Okay, gotcha. If you can go back in time, check them out at the Lawrence Busker Festival. It was awesome.
I'll be at the Arts in the Park at the North Kansas City.
Okay.
Mackin Park. Otherwise, I'm doing a lot of stuff out of town, so it's going to be hard to.
Well, watch for them. All right, just go to the Kansas City events and throughout the year, even if it's next summer, check out Jason DeVod. Awesome stuff. If nothing else, just go and bring your kids. My kids love him, and I've watched him for years at Old Shiny Days here in Kansas, and also at the Ren Fest here in Kansas City. It's just been awesome. So. All right, man. Well, I'd love to do a part 2 sometime because I feel like we're just scratching the surface with you.
I would love to, man.
Let's go deep and let's get.
I'm excited just to get to come talk to you and hang out and have coffee. So.
Yeah. I know.
The cameras are a bonus.
It is. It's well, and that's one reason I wanted to start the podcast. I would have coffees with people I hadn't seen in a long time, and the conversations were so rich. I was like, let's just share this with people. You know what I mean? Like
it's great for performers because we're like. Watch us talk.
Watch me. Look at me.
Look how good we are at conversations.
That's exactly right, man. Yeah, we are. We're all about the performance aspect of it, seeking the attention. That's what it's all about.
It's never not about that. Let's be honest.
That's true. There's always the attention element of it. Yeah, good
point. It's so cool to connect with you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Great to see you again. Yeah. So, man, thanks for coming. Thank you, Etc., our sponsor, for being here. Look down at the link. What's the best link for them to find you? What's your website?
TheCircusMan.com. I know that sounds a little pretentious. TheCircusMan.com.
There's only one.
That's right. Well, I saw The Strong Man.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a guy. I was like, that's perfect. I'm just going to use that.
Nice.
So TheCircusMan.com, The Circus Man on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Awesome, man. That's great. Okay, we'll link to your website for sure in the show notes, and don't forget to check out ZeroShoes.com. Which products do we do? ZeroShoes.com/go/Devin. Check that out. Great stuff. Go to YouTube, watch the full thing, give us comments, share it. We want to share this message with a lot of people out there. If you know someone with anxiety, for sure, pass this episode on to them, or if they have kids with anxiety, because those tips were great, man. That was gold. So thanks for sharing that.
Hope it helps somebody.
Before we sign off, just one piece of advice for my daughters. What would you, if my 7 daughters were sitting right here, what would you say? Hey, kids, you need to know this.
Oh man. I would just say that man, kids have so much like a certain kind of like inner joy and peace. I would just say like value that and keep that, and understand that it always comes from you, and not to rely on anyone or anything else to bring that to you. But yeah, cherish that and visit that inner peace often. Find it and visit it often. That's sustainable over time. Yeah, and I guess also, don't try to find anybody who's going to fill a void for you, and don't try to fill anyone else's void. Support each other, but keep your inner peace.
Okay. Thank you. Man. Appreciate that, Jason. All right, we're gonna sign off with what else is possible. I'll say what else you say is possible, and we'll let them get back to their busy days, drives, whatnot. So, all right, thank you so much for joining. Remember to never stop asking the question, what else
is possible?
We will see you next time.